Ayo, Bungie just had a brand new stream today talking about all the stuff coming in Act 2, which is dropping next week. We definitely got way more information than I was expecting about upcoming things to the artifact, new weapons, mod changes, a whole bunch of stuff. So here is my live reaction. We'll have timestamps down below. Enjoy. Oh, and go ahead and skip to the very end if you just want to hear me talk about the most important stuff and my thoughts on all of them.
Welcome to our stream that's going to go ahead and showcase a little bit of what's to come in Act 2 of Episode Echoes. But very briefly, before I go ahead and kick things off, the eagle-eyed guardians among you have probably noticed a little QR code down here in this general direction. If you go ahead and give it a scan, our friends over at the Bungie Foundation are going to be running a 7th column chaos tournament, and you have a chance to get involved, help them raise some funds, and do some good. So if you go ahead and do yourself a favor, give that a scan, learn a little bit more about what they got, maybe give them a follow on Twitter while you're out there. They've got a lot of cool information that's on the way. But speaking of cool information on the way, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Today, we have the distinct opportunity to go ahead and tell you a little bit about the stuff that's going to be arriving with Act 2 of Episode Echoes. But worry not, as always, I'm joined by an all-star cast of guests here from the Bungie development team. I'll go ahead and dive right into it, starting with the individual right here to my left, the incomparable Allison Lures, narrative director here at Bungie. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. Thank you for asking.
She's
no one ever
fun
asked
energy.
Me back.
More people should.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. For the uninitiated at home that may not have met you or just kind of meeting you for the first time outside of the Vidoc potentially, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Bungie?
Yeah, my name is Allison Lures. I'm the narrative director for Destiny 2. It's my job to work with the team that creates our stories and characters. We're in charge of making you cry and feel things.
I have cried a lot in our game, so thank you.
You're welcome.
You and yours are doing some heavy lifting.
You're
Even
welcome.
my black and dead heart has gone ahead and had some feelings. So
Happy to be of service.
We appreciate it. And of course, sitting right next to Allison is the one and only Mr. Ryan Harris, Senior Activities Designer here at Bungie. Ryan, welcome.
Hey.
For the folks that also may not have met you or have probably played your activities without realizing it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here?
Yeah, so my name is Ryan Harris. I'm a senior activity designer here at Bungie, and folks may know me
rolled
from
in from
season
8
20
Mile.
Battlegrounds, 7th Inspire, and yeah, I work on the Vanguard seasonal team, making the activity content folks play day after day.
Excellent.
All
I
right,
spent a lot of time in 7th Inspire, so thank you for your hard work.
Welcome.
And of course, next to him, friend of the show. If you've tuned into our Into the Light streams, you've met him before a couple of times. The one and only senior design lead here at Bungie, the one and only Chris Proctor.
Chris,
welcome back.
Thanks, Andy.
Love
How are you
him.
today?
I am
Love that
doing
guy.
so good. Thank you.
Great
This
dude.
is everything's coming up Millhouse. This is going great. For the folks that may not have had a chance to tune into the previous streams, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Bungie.
Yeah, folks might be familiar with my work on the weapons team. I was weapons feature lead for 4.5 years. I'm now the sandbox craft lead on Destiny, which means I
Nice.
help out the sandbox team with any issues they're facing and help uphold that critical sandbox quality bar.
My boy got promoted.
It's an exciting one to dive
DMG
into, so
gifting
thank you and
10
yours for all
subs.
of your hard work.
What a shit.
Now, let's go ahead and get ready to go ahead and dive into some stuff about Act 2. But first things first, we've obviously been listening to the feedback of our fans, in particular, the kind of weekly rollout of all the different stuff that's happened through Episode 1. With Episode 2, you guys are looking to try something a little bit different. Isn't that right?
That's
Allison?
right. Yeah, we've been listening to the fans and listening to feedback, and we agree it's time for a change. So we're going to do a trial of something new in Act 2.
Talk to me.
We're going to be dropping all 3 beats of the acts at once. So we'll be dropping all the 3 beats for Act 1 at the same time, all the 3 beats for Act 2 at the same time, all the same beats for Act 3. And the goal is to encourage players to play at their own pace, to get all of that content at once if that's what
No
they're
more
looking
drip
for,
feed
or to
content?
meter it out over whatever
The
piece they
drip?
want to play at. But yeah, so we're
It's
going to
been
give it a
turned
shot
off?
in Episode 2.
Excellent. That's right. Yeah.
See how it goes over.
Yes, definitely. And to
Interesting.
that same end, when Episode 2, I did too,
No story
rolls
time.
around, make sure and let us know what you guys think. But whether you're a Netflix-style binger like myself, or you want to go to the comic book store each week to go ahead and pick up the new issue, there's going to
Exactly.
be a chance to dive in no matter how you
That's
want.
really
However
cool.
you want to
Okay.
experience it,
So
it's
that's
up for
the
you.
dub.
But
Golf
make sure to
clap
read
that.
it. More about it is going to be
Nice,
in the tweet
nice.
this week.
Excellent. Okay, make sure and tune in. We'll
Yeah,
have plenty
Steve,
more
that's
information on the
exactly
way.
what will
Let's go ahead and take a look at
writing a
also
video
what got
script
us here
now.
today. So we're still in Episode 1, Echoes.
Yep.
Act 1 has kind of concluded its main story beats. For those at home that may not have had a chance to play through or may have some questions about the story, would you mind catching us up to what events got us here today?
Sure, we'll do the short version. Great news, the witness is dead. We did
We
it.
did it.
Yay! And the
everybody.
episodes are all about the consequences of where we killed the witness
Yeah.
and how. So when we killed the witness, all of that darkness, all of that memory, all of that energy collided with the light of the traveler. And so all of the memories that were inside of the witness, which is not necessarily exclusively the precursor beings that are inside of it, collided with the light of the traveler and made matter out of those memories. We call those echoes. And one of them launched out towards Nessus. And so we followed it to try and investigate, see what this thing is. And when we got there, we managed to reunite with Failsafe, who you left. You abandoned her. She's okay with
I do
it
feel
because
personally
she's
responsible.
chill.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness. Thank you.
She's very
Don't
happy
pin
to
that
see
on
us.
me.
We're happy to see her.
And we're happy
I
to see
visited
her.
her every
So
week.
we've been exploring through Nessus,
Right.
and initially things are pretty fun. What a fun, cool, lighthearted adventure.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's going to happen.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Failsafe's around.
And the act ends with getting a little tease of like, oh wait, this isn't going to be a strictly lighthearted adventure. Saint gets kidnapped, more than kidnapped, kind of body controlled away from the rest of the group. And as he's taken away, this being called the Conductor is interrogating him and demanding to kind of understand whether or not you are
Conductor.
real,
I
like
need to
whether
learn
Saint
more
is the real Saint
about
or
the
not.
Conductor.
It's unnerving and kind of weird, and the vibes are only going to get darker from there.
Even better.
Nice.
And given that
Dark
Saint has a rich
vibes.
history with the Vex, I'm sure everything's just going to go nice and peachy keen. and easy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. No,
So-
of course not.
And so
I
now
like
that
her.
we've
She's
washed
got fun
away
energy.
that veneer of everything's going to go great, Act 2 now
Yes.
is arriving as well. Now, there's plenty of stuff for folks to dive into, but as we go ahead and kick things off here with Act 2, can you give us a little bit of a tease of what we're going to be checking out?
Yeah, what Saint heard when he was being kind of controlled really got
I don't
to
know
his
about that
head.
shirt, though.
We are going to be watching him wrestle with some questions that he's never asked himself
$1.50
before.
the Salvation Army.
And as we are trying to understand more about this
I'm fucking
conductor
around,
that
of
he has
course.
encountered, we are also going to be going back and revisiting one of Destiny's most storied locations very briefly.
So the lore hounds out there are going to have a chance
Exciting.
to feast.
They're going to have a delicious time.
Excellent.
A
Life,
delicious
you're welcome.
time.
I don't know if this will warrant another 10
Exciting.
hours, but we'll leave that up to you.
I got you,
Yay,
Drew.
Bite has content.
Perfect. Okay. And now that gives us the structure for what we're about to dive into, but we have now the new activity that'll be arriving as well.
Okay, here we go.
We're going to go ahead. We have some gameplay here to go ahead and dive into with the Echo Battlegrounds, the new 3-player activity. Ryan, do you mind kind of telling us a little bit about what we're going to be checking out here today?
What we got here?
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll be taking a
the
look
hell's that
at
gun?
one of the 3 battlegrounds that players will be engaging with this act.
New
So the
sidearm?
first battleground here starts
Sidearm?
in the Cistern, the Wall of Flames, on Nessus, of course. And players will be running through
Special
the Wall of Flames, checking out what's going on here as the Fallen have kind of like started hanging out and investigating the well for themselves.
Yeah.
So players really here like seeing like noticing that the radial area of this lake has been drained. A lot of the areas kind of like revamped and like regenerated itself to something new. And players will be looking at the story of like where is this radial area
This
going?
isn't
Where is it
helping.
flowing through? So for Battleground 1, you're kind of like finding out and like locating where all this radial area is going to.
Yeah.
Battleground 2, you're seeing the actual flow and direction of all the radial area to the center of Nessus.
Lord, Twitch.
And Battleground 3, you're actually seeing like where it's being directed to. So it's really trying to tell that story about the journey to the center of Nessus.
Very exciting. Yeah. So they all kind
like
of have a way of interconnecting
the
with each other
solar
as well.
rocket sidearm. I'm
also,
hyped for
I
that.
mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Obviously, the Vex have been our primary antagonist through this, but the entrance here is being guarded by a pretty heavy contingent of Fallen. Who are these Fallen, and what are they trying to do here?
Yeah, I can give a relatively boring answer, but I believe Allison can give a much better one.
Thanks. Yeah, the Fallen are here because they're after the Echo too. We want to think of these Echoes as kind of an arms race.
Yeah.
In the absence of the Witness, there's a giant power vacuum that has formed where there's no one in charge who's going to come out and take it on top.
Yeah.
So the Fallen are here. They're chasing down the Echo as well, and they're encountering the same thing that we are in that the Vex aren't really acting like the Vex normally do here.
Yeah.
We're seeing some Vex start to act less like a collective and more like individuals. There's one really fun lore tab where one of them waves at us.
Yeah.
So we're encountering mostly Vex, but yeah,
no,
also Fallen are here too.
It's cool to see the Vex undergo such a change. Like they've been more, I think you were saying like individualistic in
Yes.
kind of a weird way, which
Doing
is like
this
the
on
thing,
Twitch
the
was a
one thing the
mistake.
Vex don't
Totally.
do. Yeah.
It's the one thing that they don't do,
Yeah.
which is why it's super weird that they're doing it here.
Yeah.
And yeah, in Act 2, we're going to be able to see a little bit more of why they're specifically doing it.
Exciting.
Can't handle
Plenty to
this.
dive into. And also, with these battlegrounds as well, Ryan, I know we were talking a bit before the show, but it seems like the main goal here was just for you guys to push yourselves, to really push the boundaries of what battlegrounds have been. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were trying to accomplish with this new set of battlegrounds in Act 2?
Yeah, so for this set of battlegrounds, it's definitely our latest and greatest iteration of battlegrounds. As folks know, battlegrounds consist of 2 encounters and a final boss encounter. So throughout the years, we kind of iterated on what a battleground is and how closely it resembles a strike. And
Don't worry
set of
about it,
battlegrounds, we
Anna.
wanted to push it to be like, what is a battleground? What is a strike?
It's a
I
Twitch
wanted to be
plugin.
almost one of the same. So with these battlegrounds itself, I wanted players to, well, of course, have enough enemies on screen to slay out at all times.
Yeah.
We're definitely pushing the combatant counts in these battlegrounds
God.
as high as possible. In some ranges of 40 enemies at a time on screen, which is quite a lot. But
Plenty for us to go ahead and check out.
plenty.
Yeah.
But that gives enough opportunity for everyone in the fire team to use all their abilities, use Prismatic to the fullest extent, and always use their super on cooldown or Prismatic on cooldown when the opportunity arises. I want players to feel like they can just do everything, and there's not just that one player soloing the entire encounter, so everyone is contributing to that experience.
Yeah, I can imagine too, even with the the expanded sandbox that's been brought to us with the new abilities by way of Prismatic, or even the new weapons, which we'll start to check out here in just a little bit. What were some additional ways? I can imagine it probably wasn't just even more, but you guys were saying you were trying to make some more of these mobs a bit more intense to go ahead and go up against as well.
They're from Sweatcicle
So
and
with the telling the story of the
Leopard.
Vex are like evolving and changing, we've I went ahead and modified an existing wyvern. I'm so sorry.
Somebody go hit him with the Elmo.
How dare you?
You'll
hit him with
engage
Elmo,
with these
baby.
wyverns in pairs, and they have a special new ability where they can teleport.
Fun.
And dodge around you, and
Yeah.
also
So friendly, so cool.
Concentrate here.
kind of scary.
A real
and
nothing personal kid moment where they
Yeah,
show up behind
yeah.
you, right? Yeah.
They certainly are an active threat in the battlefield, and I wanted players to really be on the lookout for them and engage with them and prioritize them as that priority target when they are seen.
Yeah, and that's something that's been neat. Obviously, players will have a chance. The first 2 of these battlegrounds obviously arrive with the first week of Act 2, with the third one hitting on the second week. But it's not even necessarily, I think, something that was really cool is you were mentioning earlier that you wanted to make these closer to a strike, or kind of blur that line.
Closer to a strike.
Even,
Okay.
the second battleground is kind of like an all-new experience in a lot of ways. It's not just going back to a part of the planet we've been to before with new foes, but it's a brand new experience. Can you tell us what it was like kind of putting that together and sort of creating this journey to the center of Nessus?
Yeah, so we really wanted to tell a story of that journey to the center of Nessus, and that requires new geo, new art, new environment.
Yeah.
So everything after this encounter onwards is just all new geo and layout, and we really tried our best to carve out what that experience is, and that, as most folks know from Battlegrounds, they usually run through a patrol and maybe a new boss space or just a new encounter space. These Battlegrounds really push the boundaries of hey, this is all new. This is completely new, fresh. It's kind of like a strike. It is a strike, almost.
My God. The bosses were part of that exercise too, though. I think, like we were talking before, where it's not just kind of taking characters that you've battled before and making them tougher, but it's a brand new encounter with new
I think
mechanics
that they
and
have
new
to
kind of
know.
ways to go ahead and push further into the boss fight.
They have to know.
That's the most broad strokes way I can describe it. But obviously, as the man who designed it, can you tell us a little bit more about
The KFC
creating
bucket?
these new boss experiences as well for players during this act?
Yeah, so one thing, back to what players know from Battlegrounds is when someone plays a Battleground, they come in groups of 3 or 4, players are I know what to expect from this boss encounter. It's usually the same but similar boss encounters,
Right.
but for these Battlegrounds, they're all unique bosses. They're all different, they're all challenging in their own ways, and they're just very and just different, very different from one another. So that was the experience we're trying to hit here is players, when they jump into a Battleground, it's not going to be the same. It'll be different. The boss encounter will be different. We'll be trying to tell a story with the boss encounter that you're engaging with, doling out immunity gates and engagements in that boss encounter in different ways, be it with just telling a story while you're engaging the boss, or
I
a
can't listen
damage
to
window,
one fucking
or
word that
just
they're
no
saying.
damage immunities at all, where the player is just engaging with a boss that has the largest health pool I've placed on a boss ever.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
For
We'll
now.
see. Plenty of chances to go ahead and test out those still hunt accuracy, or each individual's accuracy with still hunt, rather, I should say. I say that because I keep a shotgun on me for a very good reason. But no, there's obviously a ton of stuff to check out in that regard, but I think I'd be remiss if we didn't also talk a bit more kind of about what we're seeing on screen in some way is, Chris, we've got some new weapons that are going to be arriving with this act as well. If you wouldn't mind, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of maybe even this one we're seeing here on screen? This is one of the new ones as well, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the Aberrant Action Solar Rocket-Assisted Frame Sidearm.
Or rocket sidearms. You love to hear it.
Love the rocket
First
sidearm.
solar rocket sidearm, and
Love
it's
it.
a banger.
Yeah.
Confirmed banger.
The roll that we're showing here is heel clip incandescent, which is probably
Classic.
It synergizes super well with solar subclass.
Yeah, of course. Here we
It's
go.
definitely the one that does that the best.
Beautiful.
Just to say it, the art
No
for
range.
these weapons is awesome. Like the weapons art team knocked it out of the park. This one in
good.
particular has some nice touches when you aim down sights with it.
Yeah.
Like cool little animation there.
I like that. Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
It's going to be addictive, honestly. Got a very Vex Mythoclast feel to it, honestly.
Already top tier.
There are some
weapon.
other like
already
interesting
top tier.
combos on this as well. So I'm particularly fond of Pugilist and Demolitionist.
Yeah.
As you get kills so fast with these rocket sidearms that regenerating your ability energy as you're doing that keeps you armed to the teeth at all times.
Yeah, never hurts. In addition to that, we've also got a new arc heavy burst pulse rifle, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Corasian arc heavy burst pulse rifle.
Yeah.
Another one in this seasonal set. And yeah, this is we introduced this subfamily with Final Shape, and this
Yeah.
is the
Right,
third
right.
one of these.
Bolt shot.
The roll that we've got here, high impact
Sweet.
reserves left column, also always very good, and volt shot right column,
Huge.
that's pretty strong.
Denim
I would also
chicken.
look at getting frenzy right column. Because high impact reserves is great, but
my
it doesn't give you
God.
any stats. So having frenzy gives you a bit of damage and those stats as well, and
Yeah.
very high uptime, really great.
Yeah, I can imagine too in the era where pulse rifles are living through their anti-barrier era as well. It's probably not too bad to have one with that many stacked perks on it. Frankly,
Yeah.
Like, I can see Volt Shot doing a lot of untold damage just behind enemy lines pretty rapidly with that guy.
It's pretty juiced in PvP as well. Definitely
Yeah.
to pick up.
Ooh, good point. Yeah.
Interesting.
Headseeker fans
Okay.
rejoice.
Fair enough.
Potentially. And then in addition to that, an old favorite is going to be making its return. Saint's tried and true favorite shotgun. Perfect Paradox is
Perfect
coming back
Paradox,
as well from
yeah.
Season to Dawn.
Yeah, Perfect
I haven't used
Paradox
that
is
in
back,
forever.
along with a bunch of other Dawn weapons. This is the one we're dropping
1-2
in
punch?
this act. And yeah, all of the perks that you know
Nice.
and love from the original,
Joey.
Yeah.
plus a bunch of new ones, plus the new origin trait, Cast No Shadows, which if you're doing a melee
No
build,
Shadows.
just synergizes really nicely with it. So, threat detector left column, and then trench barrel if you're just doing damage with weapon,
Yeah.
or 1-2 punch
Trench
if you're
barrel
doing melee
and
build.
1-2
Yeah.
punch.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun,
Okay.
and fits in really well with the rest of Saint's arsenal. This
Yeah. We combination blow hunters are about to have a very good time. I can
yeah.
already tell, honestly.
Oh,
As if
Hunter's
we
having
weren't
a good
already.
time? Shocker.
No, it's been great. So with some new additions to the weapon
can't-
sandbox, there's also some new, a new row, pardon me, of perks unlocking on the seasonal artifact as well.
Right.
Isn't that
New
right?
row. Okay.
Right, yeah. So each act we're adding a new row. So
really
this is
cool.
5 new artifact mods. And with these, we're really leaning into sniper rifles and solar damage.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
Oh my God.
we'll
Still
bring this
hunt.
up in a second.
Yeah. Show the artifact.
They're-
Show the
The fire
artifact.
team here, obviously, is a little bit of their hands full. And also, everyone in chat, please give a shout out to Peyton, Mitch, and Justin here, who are doing the proverbial heavy lifting, carrying us through this activity as well.
Okay, chat. Get ready to
Yeah,
screenshot.
absolutely. So anti-barrier sniper is coming back.
Ooh.
Personal favorite.
Okay.
Love this
Great.
Yeah.
artifact mod.
There's been a lot of
Fun.
buzz about that, I think, when everyone saw it on the new seasonal artifact.
Yep, it makes it really easy to deal with barrier champions.
Energy
and,
cost of
like,
scavenger
you can
mods
also
are
go through
significantly.
phalanx shields, all sorts of shields.
Ooh,
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
very, very.
I always feel
high
bad for the
utility.
Hive
Alright,
Knights
I'm
that
down
set
with
up
that.
so defiant with their shield. And I'm
Definitely
like, I'm really
down.
sorry, but this is not going to go well for you.
Yeah, and then scavenger mods, so you can keep those special ammo sniper rifles fed.
Yeah.
Moving on, incendiary rifle rounds. Yeah, so if you've got a solar sniper rifle, and I can think of a couple, we've seen Whisper of the Worm here, but there's
Are
also
you
Still Hunt.
Yeah.
kidding me?
This really juices those. You're scorching targets with this artifact mod, and then if we move on to the next one, once you build up enough scorch stacks and you have that ignition, it will do increased damage in a higher radius. Super, super strong. And not only that, but we're adding this other artifact mod for sniper rifles, which increases damage with every precision hit. So if you're landing like crit after crit on a boss with Whisper or Still Hunt or your favorite legendary solar sniper rifle,
Yeah.
you're going to be the damage output is going to be
Let's just say, Whisper of the Worm.
Go
man,
to the
they're just gonna
right,
be
damn you.
feasting.
Who's holding the mouse?
Your next Excision run is about to be just a symphony of Whispers of the Worm, honestly. Which is not a bad way to spend some time. Also, this is as I was looking through kind of the additional buffs that were going to be added. So with the arrival of Act 2, obviously Solstice will be a part of that. And we'll touch on that a little bit later here in the stream. But with the arrival of Solstice, you guys are also working on a new balance update as well.
Yeah.
Covers weapons, covers armor, covers abilities. I'm going to go ahead and kick off with perhaps an update that's very near and dear to my heart.
More on that later.
As a Dead Man's Tale main, the Tex Scout Rifles are getting a pretty solid PvE buff across the board. Is that right?
Yeah, we've seen that the legendary and exotic aggressive scout rifles have been lagging a bit behind in damage output in PvE. So we're bumping that by 30%, which puts them like just ahead of the current leaders for scout rifle damage output.
Yeah.
They're a ton of fun. Like they hit really hard.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Not only because I just like hit firing guys from across the map, but
really
I gotta
crazy,
tell you, I'm looking
by
for
the
any
way.
excuse I can to keep dusting off Dead Man's Tale.
Yeah.
Fighting Lion has taken its place recently, but just as a temporary thing. It's okay.
We
Also,
have a fun seasonal aggressive scout rifle, which you should keep an eye out for.
yes, that's right. Yeah, I haven't spent as much time with that as I ought to, honestly. I've been mostly hanging out with Lost Signal, speaking of Fighting Lion. But this isn't time for Andy to share his loadouts necessarily.
That's another live stream.
That's another live stream. That's right. Yeah, that's just me tweeting into the void and being like, Fighting Lion. The Fighting Lion subreddit is probably very happy right now, so shout out to all of them. In addition to that, an old favorite of mine as well, speaking of some of the classics, Ariana's Vow is going to be getting a pretty sizable buff against barrier shields as well.
Yeah, so we've had a bunch of changes to exotic weapons and how they interact with barrier champions. And Ariana's Vow fell a bit behind, so we've bumped its damage substantially at 67%. This means that in most difficulties it will break barrier champion shields in 2 shots, which makes its ammo economy like much more valuable.
Right.
And we had a pretty big rework recently. This just makes it that much stronger.
Yeah, always a good time to go ahead and have that sitting on your hip, honestly.
Okay, fair enough.
We've got some other weapon buffs. Any in particular that you wanted to speak to while we were here? Obviously, all this will arrive on Bungie.net later, but as long as we got you here, I'd love to hear if you got any more on your mind that you'd love to speak to.
Yeah, with the sniper rifle focus in this act, we really wanted to improve their ease of use a bit more in PvE. One of the biggest problems is when you're like trying to land crits on the witness or something and you're taking a bunch of damage, you're getting flinched off target a lot. So we've gone in and halved the flinch from PvE enemies.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I'm also, like, a little bit of foreshadowing, but we've gone in and removed the penalties from adept mods. And this is sort of setting the stage for a larger set of mods that will be dropping in a future release. Not too far out.
Yeah.
Did he just say they're
proverbial
removing
stay tuned
penalties
for
from
everyone out
adept
there as
weapon
well,
mods?
yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, and also we were talking a bit before the show too, but
What?
There's going to be some armor tuning as well, isn't there as well, to like the mods, I believe?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do a lot of raiding, you're probably familiar with the reserves mod swapping shenanigans that you can do. And this is just sort of fiddly and annoying for players. We don't think it's a balance issue, but it is irritating. We didn't want players to have to do it. So now when you switch your reserves mods back off, it'll bring your total reserves back down to their current cap. And to balance that out, we've increased reserves for special and heavy weapons across the board. It varies per weapon type, but it's in the 10 to 15% range.
Nice, okay.
And in addition to that, if you do like running reserves mods permanently, we've reduced their cost.
No one does.
You'll note that with some of the discounted mods from the artifact, like already reduced that to 1, so this would bring it down to 0.
Oh, really?
It's a pretty big change.
Very nice. All right. So build crafters, you've all been made aware. Now's a chance to start tweaking those variables in your spreadsheets across the board. Very exciting. Okay. A lot of stuff to dive into still yet, but
That's
we've
a
also
lot of
got
information you just
a
dropped.
brief, quick preview of some stuff that's going to be arriving with Solstice. Now, I know our fire team is here hard at work in the
Staring at
background,
the
but
camera.
very briefly, I wanted to make sure that as a part of the show, we took a look at the armor sets that are going to be arriving with Solstice. So, as a reminder,
It's a pretty good
Solstice is going to
stream.
be hitting here with Act 2. Should be a pretty good time for you guys to dive into.
Solstice
we'll have more
hitting with
information
Act
soon,
2?
but you can take a look here and see kind of the, I don't know, old-timey pilot race car driver. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just channeling my
Whoa,
old
weird.
inner
Okay.
race car driver here.
Yeah, I
but-
can really see the adventure influence
Yeah.
in this. That idea of an explorer who's
Yeah.
going and delving into different
Okay.
places.
Yeah, I mean,
Also the pants.
I was
Nice,
going to say, with
nice
boots like this,
pantaloons.
Consider the pants.
yeah, seriously. Like the first time as a hunter, I'm jealous of Warlocks. Congratulations, Warlocks, you did it. Let's see. Up next, we've also got our friendly neighborhood Titan, I believe, with perhaps
That
one
looks
of the
good.
coolest helmets I have ever
That
seen.
Titan
available
drip
to
looks
them.
so
Once
good.
again, as a hunter, it's a very alien feeling being
Dude, I
jealous
love
of
that
Titans,
chest
but
armor.
This is one
Damn,
time we'll go ahead and summon
fat
that
dub
feeling,
right
honestly.
there.
Titans out there, make sure you go ahead and start getting your transmogs
That's
ready.
really
but
good.
this is
Goddamn,
one
Titans
I
looking
can't wait to
fresh
see start
like
running
that.
around the tower. Should be pretty solid. And then, last but very not least, my fellow hunters, we also are going to be able to go ahead and
always
feast.
looking good.
We've got
Shocker.
another set of ornaments coming our way.
That hunter
again,
has no
really
cake,
channeling
though.
kind of that adventurer style that they're really going for to
Hunter
theme
gotta-
for this solstice in particular.
Don't skip leg
And
day,
plus
bro.
with an
Do
expanded
little
sandbox
squats
of
out
all
there.
the goodies that you folks have been working on to go ahead and have
the
us go
Titan
ahead
is
and
the clear
tear
winner,
through it
though.
with. We are very appreciative of it, but
Clear
yeah,
winner.
just kind of a quick look at what's to arrive with Solstice. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of the main
Flat butt
set of
hunter.
topics for today. We're going to go ahead and scan Twitch chat very briefly to make sure we can go ahead and grab any questions. But Ryan, honestly, we're now into, is this the second battleground?
Yeah, we're in the second battleground
Yeah.
on the second encounter right now.
Yeah.
So what we didn't see previously was players were, when they finished the first battleground, the second battleground actually starts where the first battleground ends to
Yeah.
continue on your journey into the center of Nessus.
Yeah.
And that's the same for when you end battleground 2. That's where you start for battleground 3.
Very exciting. That's kind of cool, actually,
Look,
having
at
that
that
again,
point,
that journey to the center of
just-
Nessus. Sort of in that
don't
same
wear a
vein, actually,
hat,
one thing
right?
I've
You got
also
it
kind of
so
been
far
wanting
back,
to
it's-
ask selfishly is a wise narrative director once said that stories are told in 3 acts. Can you tell us a little bit about what this episodic structure offers you guys? Like, what are you able to
Yeah.
try that's different?
So humans like stories that have shapes, right?
Right.
When we think of a story where you're kind of like in the same place, like doing the same thing, like sometimes we want to make sure that our stories feel like they have shape and momentum to them. For example, with episode 1, we can think of the shape of it kind of as starting in this place of really like lighthearted. It's a fun romp, it's a fun adventure, and
Yeah.
it slowly goes down
Yeah.
into a really dark place.
As all the doom happens in the background, we're
Exactly.
having fun with failsafe.
We get to play with that play with those shapes and
Yeah.
play with that structure with each of our episodes. So in episode 2, in episode 3, it may start at different places and the energy may take you in different ways.
Yeah.
We got to really experiment and play around with what are we introducing narratively, which enables us to add things like a focus on Fate 14 for Act 2, or different ways that the battlefields may change as we're going through.
Yeah.
Humans like stories that have shape to them, and that's what a really well-defined act structure allows us to do.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, honestly, as we've just getting
Yeah.
started here in Echoes and with episode 2 on the way, but we'll talk more about that at a later date. Worry not. We've got plenty to dive into with Act 2 right in front of us.
Good call.
But as far as my my agenda goes, I think actually we've thankfully hit kind of the primary bulk of the show.
Could I touch briefly on the ability stuff? That's
Please, yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been monitoring feedback in PvP around prismatic hunters.
Ooh.
And particularly the 2 pain points around swarm grenades and threaded spectre. So we're bringing both of those down into line.
Yeah.
We've also got a couple of PvE
Good.
changes coming, and this is Titan stuff.
Very
It's
good.
sort of previewing some Titan changes that are going to come in a future release.
Yeah.
But we're bumping up the damage of the supers, Twilight Arsenal, and Hammer of Soul. So those should both be a lot more competitive.
That's right, yeah. Hammer of Soul Titans rejoice. Also, I selfishly
Alright,
like grabbing that axe from Twilight
alright.
Arsenal. So if those could keep existing, I'd be a very happy camper.
Yeah.
Also, we got a question from chat. Freeboop asks, probably one for you, Chris. Are you guys still evaluating the interactions of the combo on Edge Transit, or will you swap from Envious Assassin to Cascade Point and a 24 magazine while you still have Cascade Point?
Yeah, so we mentioned a few weeks back that we're going to be adjusting that. It ended up needing a code change, which is typically a little bit slower to roll out, but that fix is still coming. So
Very exciting.
if you missed out on getting that that perk combination, that is not going to be an exploit that continues to work.
Excellent. Fair enough. All right. Thank you, Freeboop, for the question. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think thankfully that as we watch our steadfast group of Guardians go ahead and continue their way here through the Battlegrounds, I think that's kind of the high and low of our show, everyone. Of course, we wanted to go ahead and make sure as we dive into the events of Act 2, as we go to prepare to conclude Act 1, we wanted to make sure that all of you had a sense of what was coming. And again, a reminder, this launches next week on July 16th. Quick reminder of the topics we covered. Of course, we're going to go ahead and remind you that the Bungie Foundation folks are doing some amazing work. Go ahead and scan that QR code and check out what they're up to. Otherwise, Act 2 arrives next week. With it, you'll have these 3 new Battlegrounds, 2 launching with the first week, the third arriving on the second week.
Got it.
New weapons joining the sandbox, new artifact mods for you to go ahead and unlock, and of course, Solstice will be joining us later on into the act. But otherwise, before we go, I of course want to make sure that we take a chance to go ahead and thank our amazing cast here. Thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about what's to come.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, appreciate the time. To our amazing team of playtesters in the background, Mitch, Justin, and Peyton, thank you very much for doing the proverbial heavy lifting. To the amazing team here, producers in-house, that go ahead and put this all on, thank you all so much. Honestly, we always appreciate it. And last, but of course not least, to all you Guardians out there, thanks for taking the time to join us today. We'll see you all very soon, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all Starside.
Damn. Okay, that was a lot of information. It was more than I was expecting. We got, I mean, there's a lot of thick, juicy gems that they dropped in there. We got a new rocket sidearm solar with a juiced weapon perk pool. We've got the arc pulse rifle that looks pretty fire. They're removing penalties from adept weapon mods. There are more base level weapon mods coming. That extra row on the artifact is just juiced. Like, I mean, are they thinking that I'm kind of under the mentality that Bungie's like, you know what? We know that Still Hunt is really good. Still Hunt is really good. You know what? Fuck it. Like, we're just going to make it. The entire episode 1 is just episode of the Still Hunt. They'll probably tweak it later, maybe in episode 2. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I can't believe how deep they're going with that extra artifact row. I think hunters are going to remain on Still Hunt, which is going to be even better now, which I can't believe is happening. I think for Titan and Warlock, they could go with Still Hunt as well, but they could also go with Whisper of the Worm because of that perk about like solar snipers dealing more damage, and then, you know, the ignition and the scorch. Like, they could go for Whisper of the Worm. I'd have to really kind of get my hands on the new artifact perks and just kind of feel it out how good those new perks will be. Man, I should be hoarding bounties to level up that artifact right away. Is it good? Do we have to level up the new row of the artifact? Will it already be unlocked? I have no idea. Either way, really interesting stuff on the artifact. All that is just crazy. I feel like there is no way they don't nerf Still Hunt. Oh yeah, they're 100% going to nerf it eventually, but I feel like that isn't going to be coming for a while because they're not going to give that extra row on the artifact and be like, have fun, kill everything with snipers. By the way, nerfing Still Hunt. Like, they're going to let us play with as much crazy bullshit as we can. And then I'm predicting that when episode 2 comes, they're like, all right, we had our fun. Take the Still Hunt use. We're gonna tone it down a little bit. Yeah, nerf later, fun for right now. Totally. Crazy. We unlock columns and they added a row. So I shouldn't need to hoard bounties, you're saying, if it's a row, not a column. In theory, we should have access to everything, like right off the bat. Still Hunt is you don't think it's the answer to everything? It's the answer to a lot of things. A lot of things. Talking about PvE. They will nerf it with the artifact? No, because they would have mentioned it. I'm saying that, like, we're going to probably be able to have fun with Still Hunt until the future. Because they're not going to, if they were going to nerf Still Hunt, they 100% would have mentioned it, especially if it were coming next week. Absolutely would have mentioned it on that stream. Literally nothing about Titan is crazy. What? They mentioned that Titans are getting buffed. Did you not hear that? They mentioned that Titans are getting buffed. I mean, they could do more. Why are they mentioning okay, we'll have a bet. You and me, we'll have a bet. Thanks for the gifted subs, by the way. I forgot to do that. Doing my whole spiel here, but appreciate that. Yeah, the Ariana buff, Time will be really happy about that. The balance patch is coming with Solstice. Okay. I'm betting that they don't yet tune Still Hunt. At the very least, Still Hunt will not be getting tuned is coming Tuesday. I wonder how deep into the Act 2 Solstice will come. But, oh well. Interesting. And they did mention a Prismatic Hunter PvP nerf, which I think is a good call. Yeah, I think that's a really good call. Threaded Spectre. Too strong. Or as my brother calls it, Green Man. Anyway, wow, a lot of stuff. I can't believe that Artifact row is so good. Anyway, thanks for watching.